Hi there and welcome to Artful Loving. In this episode, I want to give you my tips for how to win at Tinder. And of course, any other dating app that we want to use out there in the wild and wonderful world of dating. If this is relevant for you, stick around. Hopefully you'll learn a few tips. Hi, I'm Nick Tovey, relationships and intimacy counsellor and coach, and thank you for being here with me on Artful Loving. If you're new to the channel, go ahead, do the clicky thing, subscribe, and if you want to be a deeper part of a community that's engaged in this conversation, go ahead and support me in Patreon. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about me and my own work, you can go and visit me at nicktovey.com. So, for today's episode, I want to talk about winning at Tinder. This game that we all know and love, or probably hate also. The dating world, the online dating world. If you're single, looking for a relationship, looking for casual interactions, you probably have used Tinder. If you haven't, where have you been? And of course, Tinder's not the only app that we can use. There are plenty that have their own way of doing basically the same thing. But for this conversation, I want to just focus on Tinder because it is probably the most popular one. It definitely has its pros and its cons, as they all do. But I want to give you a few ideas of how you can just win at the dating game. We've all probably got our own love-hate relationship with online dating. And of course, most of us have had some fairly average experiences when it comes to dating online. But I think what's important, regardless of what app we're using, is to see that the app is just a tool. So it's useful as long as we use it in a way which is useful and that works for our particular purposes. We don't want to go around hammering nails with a spoon. It just doesn't work. So we want to use the right tool for the right purposes in the right way. So there's probably a few ways we can learn to use it that are just going to work for us a little bit better. So hopefully I'll give you some ideas of how to use it well. I've of course had my own experiences on Tinder, on Hinge, on a few different dating apps over the years, but I've seen a lot of things and I've recognized a few ways in which people just don't use these things very well. The way I like to think about Tinder is like a all-you-can-eat buffet. Imagine yourself walking down an all-you-can-eat buffet and there's this table full of thousands and thousands of little plates with food on it. As you're walking past, some of them look attractive, look appealing. Some of the plates have got, they're a bit stale and crusty. Some of the plates covered in aluminium foil, so you can't even see what's on the plate. So we're walking down this all-you-can-eat buffet in a bit of a hurry. Our time is precious, so we're in a bit of a hurry. So what are the plates that are going to attract you? The plates that are appealing. And then so we may take a second look at a particular plate. We look a little closer. Then we may go towards that plate. Maybe we have a sniff. Maybe we take one little sample of that food, whatever it is on the plate. And then we'll take another little sample of something else. But my point is that it's those first impressions. And of course, when we're on Tinder, we're swiping. And so what are those first impressions that are going to draw us in and get us to engage with that profile, with that person, a little more than the millisecond that we spend on a swipe? Yeah, we need to have something that draws us in. So this takes me to the four tips I'm going to give you, the 4 P's. So the first P, the first tip, is purpose. Why are you here in the first place? What is it that you're using Tinder for? Of course, like I said before, it's a tool. It's a tool, and that we can use those particular tools for particular purposes. You know, you think of go back to the hammer analogy. You can use a hammer for knocking in nails. You can also use it for pulling out nails. Certain hammers, anyway. So there are multiple functions and uses for particular tools. So it's important that you, as a user of this tool, get really clear on what is your purpose. Are you looking for a long-term relationship? Are you looking for a one-night hookup experience? Are you looking to meet friends and hang out? Are you looking to get Instagram likes? Yeah? Whatever it is, be clear on what your purpose is and use it honestly. Be honest about what your purpose is. Bring that into the way you're putting yourself out there into the world. The second tip number 2, is photos. My goodness, if I got paid for the amount of photos that I see on Tinder that are like, oh, disgusting. Why do people put really bad quality photos up on their Tinder profile? Why do people put photos of them and a bunch of friends so you don't even know which one they are? There's a lot of really bad photos up on people's Tinder profiles. So spend a bit of intention and attention and energy into putting good quality photos of you that tell a story about who you are. But that first image that somebody sees, that is the catcher. Yeah, that is the one that glimpses. An analogy I like to use is thinking of your Tinder profile as a resume. If you're going for a job and this job, you're going for a job and you want that employer to pick up your resume and examine it and of course hire you for the job, then you want to make that resume appealing to look at initially. Because if you're an employer and you've got 1,000 resumes on your desk for one placement, you've got to filter through those 1,000 resumes some way. So the first filtering process is visual. It's like, what are the resumes that are presented well? What are the resumes that strike, that stand out amongst the others? And what are the resumes where somebody's just taken no thought, no consciousness, no creativity into creating a pleasing, well-formatted, well-set-out resume? It's super, super important. And it's, this is basic stuff we're talking about here. This isn't rocket science. So make that first image a really good quality image of you, preferably professionally shot or shot by somebody who knows how to take a good photo on a good camera. Please, not a mirror selfie. Oh my God, they're disgusting. Why are we taking selfies of ourselves in the mirror and thinking that people are going to be attracted to that in whatever way? It's ridiculous. People, guys, please think about it. Think about it. Present yourself professionally. Present yourself in a way which is appealing, which is honest. Yeah? And I'm not saying don't put some makeup on, don't dress up. Of course, present yourself in a way which is well presented. Don't be, underneath a bottle of champagne or with a big fish in your hand. Whatever it is. Oh my God, it's crazy the amount of shit that's out there. Anyway, present yourself in a really nice, appealing way. Somebody, you want this person, the person who's going to see this image, don't you want them to be interested in you, to be attracted to you? So why would you put some shit up there? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. So a good quality, professionally shot image, particularly for that first image. The other images, again, good quality images, but have something with your friends. Have something with you engaging in an activity that you like to do. And again, with this, if you have been rock climbing once in your life, but it's not something you do, don't put that image up on your Tinder profile. This is about you selling yourself in some ways, but make it a realistic and honest portrayal of who you are and what you like doing. You're telling a story in this profile, a story of you. If you're not into fishing, don't put yourself up fishing. If you're not into exercising, don't look like you're always in your active wear running up and down the beach. Yeah, this is if it's just not true, don't put it up there. And of course, and we've all had this experience where somebody's put an image up on their profile of them 10 years ago and 20 kilos lighter or whatever it is. Yeah, so again, it's just an unhonest portrayal of who you are. Straight away, if I meet somebody and their physical appearance is not how they've portrayed themselves in their image, it tells me a lot about that person's self-esteem. It tells me a lot about that person's trustability. And basically, I'm walking away. I'm not going to be engaging in that with that person. They may be lovely, but I've learned quite a bit about who they are and how they present themselves in relationship just by those couple of mistakes that they've made. Okay, photos. Put that away. Tip number 3, profile. Profile. Write a profile. Please, people, please. You've got, when we're talking about Tinder, you've got a very small window where you can tell a little bit more of a story about yourself. Why people don't write anything, to me, that just yells laziness, and either they're not great at speaking about themselves, so lack a bit of confidence, or they're too egotistical to imagine that their words are going to add anything to the images. They're presenting themselves just visually, and so it tells me that they think a lot about the way they look and that that's important enough. So, again, it depends on who you're looking for, what kind of relationship, what kind of experience you're looking for. But so this takes us back to purpose. What are you looking for? If you're just after a hookup with somebody who can't think and put together a profile, then great, go for it. So in your profile, what do you want to put there? You want to, again, this is a resume. Imagine we're working with a resume here. You want to present yourself a little bit of a story about who you are and why this person might want to engage with you. I can't remember the amount of times I've read profiles that are really passive aggressive, and or outright aggressive. I see a lot of people putting, clearly they've been hurt, clearly they've had negative experiences on Tinder or online dating, and it's like, don't be this, don't do this, don't do that, don't. It's like, why would I want to engage with you in any sort of relationship? You just sound like a horrible, passive-aggressive person. That's not a good selling point. It's really not a good selling point. You want to speak about who you are, what you're about, what you're interested in, and of course, what is your purpose for being here? Why are you on Tinder? Do you want a hookup? Do you want casual sex? Do you want to meet friends? Do you want a long-term partner that you want to settle down with and have kids with? Yeah, if that's in your, that's your greater vision, you're on here to wanting to meet somebody and have a really a beautiful long-term committed relationship which may have family in the vision. Mention that they're things that you want, and without expecting that this first date that you're going to be seeing somebody on is the answer to that. Of course, if you think that you need to tone down your profile so you don't put people off, then maybe we're trying to attract the wrong kind of person. There are plenty of people out there, male and female, that are looking for long-term relationship and commitment and family. And if that's who you're trying to attract, tell them. Of course, you're gonna reduce the size of the pool in which you're fishing, but the reality is the quality of fish that you're going to catch are going to be better quality and more along your particular taste. So take some thought around how you want to write your profile. What are you here for? What are you looking for? What are you all about? What are your values? This is like I said, a very small and limited amount of space where you can just tell a little bit more of a story about you. Make it engaging, make it informative, and of course, make it a bit fun, but also honest. Yeah. And then we need to talk about personal responsibility. What I mean by that is you're on Tinder, you're playing a game, you're wanting to create dating experiences. Don't be a dick. Yeah? And of course, I'm probably talking to the men here more than anyone else. There are plenty of creeps out there and plenty of people that use these dating apps in order to perpetrate and predate sexuality onto people that aren't consenting in it. You know, just be a decent person, be a decent human being. Don't be creeping on people, and don't be sending unsolicited dick pics. Don't be just be decent. Be a nice person. And of course, it's not just the blokes that aren't nice people. Yeah, there's plenty of females out there that can do similar things. And this is about recognizing that we're all humans in this game. We're all people trying to navigate this weird space that we're in of online dating. It is scary and vulnerable, and there's a lot at stake, and there's just a lot of shit out there that we need to filter through. So if you're honestly trying to create relationships here, then just don't be a dick. Yeah, be a nice person. Be understanding that there's a human being on the other side of this phone who's also looking for a relationship just as much as you are. What else I want to talk about with personal responsibility is be soliciting a good amount of self-control. We all know how addictive our phones can be. We all know how addictive it can be when we are looking for someone on Tinder and pops a notification. You know, our heart goes out. We get this rush of all these beautiful brain chemicals that go off. Somebody's messaged me. Somebody's liked me. Someone's matched with me. You know, that emotional, physiological response is palpable. So we need to set some constraints around how we interact with our dating apps. So what I think is a really good rule of thumb is turn off your notifications and only go onto your app at certain periods throughout the day. If you're constantly on there, you're not being present to life. You're not engaging in the things that you should be engaging in. And of course, the more you're on it, the more addicted you become. So the more dependent on those positive interactions you are. So when the negative interactions do go, or you know, a no comes, you know, of course rejection is going to happen. People are going to say no. Then it's going to happen. You need to be able to manage your emotional state in those situations. And if we're always on the phone, if we're always checking and we're just getting a notification after notification, then it's really difficult to maintain a good centered emotional posture from that place. So have some rules of engagement around it and stick to them. How are you going to interact with your app? At what times are you going to interact with your app, and for how long? Yeah, and of course, we've all, made the mistake of having a few lonely drinks at night and swiping. Not a good idea. Really not a good idea. One thing that I am very clear on, particularly when it comes to dating, and I say this to my clients that I work with that are single and looking for relationships, is alcohol and dating just don't mix very well. You're not meeting a person in their authenticity, in the truth of who they are. You're meeting somebody, and of course they're meeting you if you've had alcohol, in a way which is altered, in a way which the inhibitions have been loosened, and you're probably going to end up saying yes to things that you're going to regret tomorrow. Yeah. And letting things go and letting things slide that you're just not a full yes to. So it's really important that we can maintain our faculties and be clear and centered in ourselves, so we know what we're okay with and what we're not okay with. We're not great at doing that when we've been drinking. So then this takes me on to, what do we do when we go out for that first date? This is a big one. My rule of thumb for a first date is coffee, and nothing else. I tend to avoid alcohol, particularly on that first date. I'm going to meet somebody for a coffee. If I meet someone for a coffee, what have we got? We've got half an hour to an hour of where I get to, I'm sitting down with that plate of food for a moment from the buffet and getting to taste it. What if I sit down with that plate of food and it tastes like shit? I don't want to eat it anymore. But if I've locked myself into an experience that could take 3 or 4 hours, I've had stories come to me from clients where they've gone out on a 10k hike for the first date. You're locked with that person for that whole 10Ks. What if they're unpleasant? What if you just don't enjoy their company? What if they're boring? What if they're just dangerous and creepy and unpleasant? You're locked in. It's very hard to get out of that. So we need to give ourselves an exit. Coffee can turn into lunch, can turn into afternoon tea, can turn into a whole day if we want it to. And it can be just coffee. We can have that coffee, we can hang about for an hour and say, hey, thanks for meeting. I think I'm done here. All the best on your dating journey. Bye-bye. Or, hey, I've really enjoyed your company. What are you doing next week? What are you doing tomorrow? Or would you like to have some lunch? So we've got options available to us. Really important that we've got an easy out in those first dating experiences. We don't know this person. We don't know if we're going to like them. Yes, we've had some really good filtering experiences to get to this place where we are sitting with them, and that's really useful, but we really don't know a person until we meet them, and then we still have to meet them much more until we really get to know that person. So anyway, I will leave you with that. I think these are really, really useful tips to implement into your online dating experience. If it has been useful, leave your comments and your questions below. I'd really love to hear how this has landed for you. What have been your shitty experiences when it comes to Tinder and online dating? What experiences have really worked for you? I'd really love for you to engage in the conversation with me. Okay, it's been really lovely. I hope this has been useful. Again, subscribe, click the notification bell, pop over to Patreon if you want to engage in the community a little more. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. You take care. Keep loving.